Welcome to the Warrior Gamer Headquarters podcast. Lieutenant Colonel Ken Crigliano, your co-host.
Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Drew Schwarz. I'm a chiropractor at the Cleveland Clinic here in Cleveland, and I have been at the clinic for over 2 years. I was in private practice for about 9 years, 8 years prior. And about 5 years ago, I started a blog called For the Wellness Blog, really focused on gaming, esports health, focused on everything under the sun, ergonomics, nutrition, hydration, a lot of exercise, movement, promotion work. And then as of late, I would say in the past 3 to 4 months, I've shifted a little bit over to employee health and looking at mental performance and factors that affect us day to day, because everyone's at a computer, whether it's gaming, whether it's working, whatever. And so I've really been focused on everything. I would say my sweet spot is definitely musculoskeletal disease, ergonomics, and started to dabble in a little bit more into nutrition, hydration, and sleep. And I'm a huge gamer as well. So.
Well, I'll tell you, it's refreshing to have a fellow nerd here, which is great. And it's also, for me, refreshing to have someone who has dedicated their life not only to the betterment of other lives, but for in the area of health and fitness and wellness and nutrition. And since you have the gaming aspect as well, you're a what we call in the military a low density, high value asset, right? So there's not a lot of you there.
Yeah.
But the ones that are there are super high value. And so I'm very interested off the bat to get your perspective or your opinion on the health industry as a whole, and how you view some of maybe your peers, their career trajectories, and how yours has really influenced the way that you help your clients, help your patients, and how you're rolling that into helping the gaming industry as well.
Yeah. So I was in private for a while. And after a while, you just kind of get bored and you want to challenge yourself, and, you can coast for a long time. And I think I did that for a decent amount of time. And then I was like, I want to do something else. I need to challenge myself. And I thought to myself, what do I like doing? I love gaming. And I'm already in the musculoskeletal field as being a chiropractor, and I enjoy being healthy. So let's put those together. And so I developed the blog, and that really started, it challenges you. And at the same time, when you're reading things and learning new things, which is always great, you realize how much you don't know. And you're like, holy crap, I need to really up my game here. So that was a very interesting, kind of self-perspective to say I need to learn more. And so I really dove into ergonomics. I thought it fit really well, and it was exciting to me, which ergonomics and exciting are not go hand in hand. A lot of times people don't get any jazzed up about ergonomics, but so I started there and really focused on gaming and ergonomics, and read a ton of studies, books, and just kind of applied what I learned in school as well and what I see in day-to-day practice, and just started putting some content out there. And that's hitting publish is the scariest part, because you're like, wow, I'm ready to get judged by the internet trolls. And so it was scary, but it really led me down some really great paths, great connections with a lot of people, especially on LinkedIn. Josh especially has just been awesome dude. And so I've just met a lot of people, and I've been able to interact with a lot of teams, a couple pro teams, well, the only pro team here in Cleveland with NBA 2K, and then a lot of universities. The university scene here in Ohio is pretty big. So started working with them and just slowly progressed. And then about 2 years ago, I got a job at the clinic as a chiropractor, and then combined forces with their esports medicine team with Dr. Dominic King, Jason Cruikshank, Devon Bell, and Devon Aaron and Justin Bell. Sorry. And so we can all join forces on that, and we've started to work with Cavs Legion again, and a couple universities out there, and putting together some really awesome content coming up, which I don't know if I can say, so I'll just keep it, but it's going to be some sweet content. But hopefully in the next couple months, that is going to be free for everybody, and it's going to be a huge resource, kind of covering a ton of different factors and influences on gaming and gaming performance, which we're really, really excited about. It just takes a little bit longer at the clinic than it does when you're in private practice or by yourself, and for the good, but also, me, I like to push, and so you learn how to navigate those waters. But that's kind of my journey and what we've been doing, and the things that we've really tried to focus on with Cleveland Clinic Esports, and some really exciting stuff, and some research coming up with a couple of groups, which is really exciting too. So we've kind of been doing a lot over there, which has been awesome.
So I'm racking up the questions here in my head. So it's very interesting. So, I'm curious on a bunch of things here, but number one is just real quickly, gaming first or medicine first?
As far as when I say treatment, what do I like more
in the love in your life?
Oh, gaming.
Yeah, of course.
By far. Right. I mean, I grew up. N64 was my jam. GoldenEye. I was the guy that, but I was, you're not going to cheer. I was the guy that played Odd Job. So I'm assuming everyone is not a huge fan of that. Yeah, no, I know. But N64 and then, college and Halo was just amazing. Too amazing my first semester, so we had to dial it back. And then it was good after that. But I mean, gaming is number one. And I think when it comes to this scene, especially, authenticity shines through significantly, and the community will call you out ASAP, and your company will absolutely just get destroyed, and no bounce back if you don't come in authentically. And I've worked with a couple of companies doing that, and just telling, kind of learning the ropes, getting into the gaming community, or gamers worrying about health. So kind of like two sides of the fence there, but definitely gaming. I mean, I love gaming. Like today I played League for a little bit, and then I played some Hogwarts. So yeah, got some toxicity, and then I went to Hogwarts and kind of chilled. So it was good.
All right. So, I'm going to shelve my questions real quick. I want to pull that string on what you said, where authenticity. So this is a topic. This is our 13th episode, and that is a topic that I don't think we've touched on. And so I want to make sure I really understand your point, which is you kind of alluded to companies that enter the community without authenticity will get just crushed, or people. Or can you just educate us on that? Can you just give us a little bit more?
Yeah. So I think, the things that I really follow obviously are, task chairs, office chair companies, equipment manufacturers, some of the other things that, there's powders and nootropics and all that stuff, which is very rampant in the space, and not, sometimes not the most ideal product. And then from my perspective with ergonomic and task-based chairs, if you come into the space and you throw out a $1,500 chair, it's just not, it's not reading the room. And there's ways to approach, I think, the market a lot better, and at a sub $1,000 price point, I think is huge. Just to get under, seeing those four digits on a price tag is not ideal for anyone. And so when you come into that space, you have to look at it from, are you one, a lot of companies piggyback off of a popular title at the time, but does that title have longevity? And sometimes it does not, with some of the companies that have come in, which is frustrating, because all you have to do is talk to anyone in the space and just say, I don't think this game is going to have legs. And you can't just put all your kind of eggs in one basket when it comes to this. You have to not just go that one route and just diversify through there and have one or two options where, yeah, you can have a chair that's above 1,000. And, I'm biased, but it is the best investment you can make. And granted, education is a huge part of using that chair, because you have a $1,500 chair and then not have a clue how to use it. I get that. But the fact that it will last long, that it has great warranty, that allows you to dynamically move, allows you to breathe, it allows you to have so much adjustability. And then the education behind that and the content pieces behind that are so important, rather than just throwing out a chair and slapping on, some logo, and having cool colorways. That does nothing, So I think having the educational piece and having a couple price points for that, and making a solid chair that might not have the adjustability per se, or have the amounts of bells and whistles on like an upper end chair, but still having solid ergonomics in that piece is huge. Because you see gaming chairs all the time. They're absolute garbage. They have technology that's, and concepts that are from the 70s, with not having the like the seat and the backrest move independently of one another. Like they're tied together. That's something from the 70s. And
It's like high
Atari.
school.
That was Atari. Yeah, if you're rocking that Atari, I get that. But now we're PC gamers.
So Bilal, I'm willing to bet you have. So I think he's being a bit coy, where he's being a little politically correct and not giving us exact examples, which I get.
Yeah, I'm riding that line.
Yeah. So Bilal, in April, I'm very interested, because this is not my domain of expertise. Have you seen this happen? And then can you just kind of expand on your own experiences, in your area of expertise on what he's talking about?
I can't think of any specifics off the top of my head, but it kind of, what you're saying rang a bell to, I'd say, about a few years back, where these big companies are starting to invest in the esports for the sole reason that there's money in it. There's money to be had. You see the kind of money that HyperX, MSI, Asus, like they're making good money. And so what I'm noticing is other companies are trying to cash in. I know Amazon basically has a hold on Twitch, for example. They seem to do a pretty decent job there, but I understand that other companies are trying to invest in esports arenas, investing into like amateur leagues, and they're not necessarily getting the kinds of results that they want. They're really just shareholders, and they're just there using the buzzwords to make it sound like that they fit in. But then when you really uncover the details and get granular, you can see that it's just not an efficient use of resources. It's like, the bigger the money, the least efficient they are. Where I feel like gamers, on the other hand, they're just trying to do this for the sake of doing this. They're coming at this from a more authentic angle, and I think that's what really leads it to success. And we consider what gaming is. Every industry has its grassroots origin, but for gaming and esports, it's just coming off of that grassroots origin, right, into something bigger where other people can easily invest in. We're not at that stage yet, in my opinion. And so you still really need to understand the origins of gaming in order to properly understand, okay, well, what are the products they need? What are the needs of the gamers? Because if you don't have that understanding, then you're looking way too far ahead and thinking, oh, numbers and this, that, and that just doesn't work out long term.
And then I would add, definitely, I hear you clearly on the discussion around the chairs, and I am going to go out on a limb and call them out by name, because I'm actually in the position to be deciding on a new buy. We're building out 2 new esports spaces right now. I purchased DX Racers for our last esports space, and they haven't broken down. They've been good for 5 years. But I think, like you said, that education piece on how people don't understand that you need to tell them, how do you use this tool that you're going to be sitting in for 12 hours, for 15 hours. And I've got, right now, I'm in between Secret Wars and Respawn. And again, right now the majority of, there's no real consumer reports about these spaces that have the medical information and the educational information tied to them, and perhaps even some market research data tied to them. That would be fantastic. So much of the information you get comes from the manufacturers themselves or the resellers themselves. And I think what you're doing with your podcast, combining, the needs, the health needs, because when kids do have carpal tunnel or backaches or grief, it's often you can point to the chair and how they've got it set up and how they're sitting. So yeah, that resonated with me very directly.
So Drew, I'm interested in this because folks who are watching who are military or government, their number one frustration is just the bureaucracy. Things don't move. There's a lot of Luddites, up and down the chain. I rail on this all over the place. I'm famous for it in my spaces. And, I'm blown away that you are in both spaces at like what we in government would say, like you're at the cutting edge, you're innovating, you're in a discipline that is traditionally not well received, right? I mean, I don't think I've ever, met a doctor who games, right, or even talks like that, or is like cool, besides folk friends and stuff. So I'm interested in like how you're being viewed by some of your peers, and I know that you published and you exposed that to the world, and I'm kind of interested in two things. Number one, what gets you up to keep doing this despite like the headwind that I know that you're facing? Yeah. And, how does the industry, your peers, view what you're doing?
Yeah, I think what while I'm still really big into esports, and I've shifted a lot of my blog and personal esports work over to the clinic, just because it has so much synergy with what we're doing over there as well. What motivates me is just trying to educate the space and better the space. And I just really enjoy interacting with gamers because I'm a gamer. Like, I don't know, there's some people that work in the medical space that were former, D1 athletes. I was not, I didn't grow until I was in college. I was like terrible athlete. So, but I'm a gamer, so it resonates really well with them. And I think speaking the lingo, like we talked about, and authenticity once again, like when I'm like talking league with them and I'm, dropping slang with them, they're like, oh, this guy actually gets it. This is what's going on, rather than me telling them in front of them and doing a presentation and say, you should eat more vegetables, and when you have wrist pain, you should just rest. Like that, both of those do not work whatsoever. But I hear that all the time. And I think that I'm really trying to change that space. And that's my real goal. And then as far as, what I do and how my peers view me, we have a couple chiros at the clinic as well. And they like it. We each kind of have our own thing, what we like to do. Some people like mentoring. Some people like seeing patients and interacting significantly with patients. I really enjoy doing the esports thing. And then I also at the clinic am one of the co-leads for the ergonomic, or reworking the entire ergonomic system at the clinic as well. And starting basically with office, but then we're going to be doing some other projects, looking at the OR, looking at, nursing, phlebotomy, like everything. And it's just looking at biomechanics. So that's really what gets me up and excites me throughout the day, is just trying to change that, and knowing that really simple education pieces, content, and digestibility of that content can go a heck of a long way when it comes to anything. And for business people, decision makers that are watching this, the ROI on it is crazy insane. The amount of money you have to put in for time, but also just actual financial and resources, it is staggering. I mean, there's varying studies throughout there. You'll see like 1 to 10, you'll see upwards of $1 to $30 put in, dollars saved. Because you think about, so in an employee wellness space, it's, workers' comp cases, musculoskeletal, 25K easy. And then I think when you look at esports, the longevity in esports is laughable. It is 2 years, 1 year, and you see people retiring when they've been in for 3 or 4 years with horrible injuries because it's more of a reactive perspective and approach rather than a proactive. And once again, it just comes back to really simple education that produces so much ROI that it's mind blowing. But it's just changing that space and changing that perspective. And honestly, it's kind of the medical system within the Western world too has been reactive for a very long time, and it's slowly shifting to proactive, which is really exciting. So I think that is why you see that a lot in esports as well, with people that maybe go with an institution that is local and they don't really know, and they'll say that eat your veggies, rest. If it hurts, then you need to take Advil and rest. Well, it's going to come back. They're going to keep playing. It's their livelihood, or it's their hobby, right? And so they're going to keep playing. Well, how can we make that player perform at their best while preventing that disease and being productive on that time off, rather than just rest and it's going to come back in 6 months? Well, now what? So
when folks come up to you and they're like, look, this gaming stuff, I mean, they're sitting for 10 hours. They're not doing anything. This is against human nature. We used to hunt and gather. We used to kill a saber-toothed tiger and, so how do you respond to the folks that just go, this is not good. There's no way this is good for people. Like, how do you help them understand?
I mean, I've talked a lot about this with people. And to me, if I could spend 2 hours playing a game, interacting with my friends that live all over the country, problem solving, hand-eye coordination, all these things, enjoyment, interaction, or sit on the couch and rip through Netflix episodes on repeat for 2 hours, what's more productive? I mean, you tell me. And I think that really helps them be like, okay, well, I'll spend all day Saturday just watching college football all day, or I'll play for 2 hours and have a ton of fun and interact with my buddies and talk a ton of trash on FIFA and do all these things. And so I think when they get the perspective to think about, okay, I'm actually doing nothing with watching Netflix and being on my phone, and gaming is actually more interactive than we originally thought, and the online capabilities and the immersiveness and stress relief. I mean, it just goes on and on and on why different people game. And to those people, it just blows my mind that people still think that way now, when, if they're not on Netflix or what, they're doing something on their phone, So sports betting is gamified. Okay, cool. You're betting on sports, pretty much gaming. So.
Yep. Yeah.
I think you bring up an interesting point, because I've talked about this a lot with my friends. It's like, anytime I ask somebody, this is just within school, anywhere, if they play video games and the answer is no, I'm like, so you watch Netflix, huh? The answer is usually yes.
Yeah.
There's always something. Everybody does something for a leisure. Well, what I find interesting about gaming is that it's in between. It's some parts leisure, but also some parts competition, right? Whereas sports is pretty much purely competition. You could argue the leisure depending on what you're doing, but
yeah,
if you're playing competitive basketball, pick up basketball at a gym, it's competitive. I mean, there's no getting around that. But gaming can be both. And I think there's such a wide market there. And if the more people realize that, and then especially make comparisons to their own life, I think the better it is for our field long term.
Yeah, I think as gaming evolves and it gets wider adoption and the authenticity enters the market, and the gamers, we receive them better, and they have to behave, because you could watch football and like there's teams sponsored by McDonald's, like, are you serious? These people are not eating McDonald's. I mean, there's a lot of money and there's a lot of things happening because people just want money. And that's what's fundamentally different about our industry, is that there is a lot of community aspect, and like, we want to have fun, we want our friends, and we want to better ourselves. There is an element that's not in a lot in the big game sports, right? And so I think as gaming evolves to help assimilate more of these people into it, I was telling him, I'm going to have my dad on the show because he watches the show and he's like, oh my God, Casey, this is like the best thing ever. I didn't know about gaming and the cognitive benefits and everything. And he's like, he games now. And I think it's cool as we start adapting this technology for people to make it more inclusive, right? And to help people. I tell people you don't have to be sick to get better. And that's what the medical community misses. I know in the military, they totally miss that. You can't do anything unless you're about to die. So I think it's awesome what you're doing. And if you could maybe predict a little bit on like the state of the industry, 3-5 years from now, I think people will be very interested in your perspective.
Yeah, I think teams and the space in general, and you guys probably see this as well, is slowly maturing. I mean, when I first started doing it, 2018, there's no one, it was hardly, there's a group out in California, 1HP, that were doing it for a little bit. And no one was really doing it. And now you continually see more and more people get into space, whether it's mental health, PT, not a ton of chiros, but you see DOs, and on our staff, for instance, we have DO, ortho, 3 ATCs. One works with neurocognitive and concussion protocols. We have ophthalmologists, we have nutrition, we have mental health, we have a cardiorespiratory guru guy that is just out of this world smart. And so we have a huge team that really can hit at it from multiple different points and experts within each of those. And I think you're going to continue to see the space, see the value in that proactive approach. We know now that there's not a ton of funding within esports. You've seen just a ton of layoffs, which is just kind of expected with everything going on in tech, crypto, everything. I think that was a huge hit to the industry. So you're seeing a lot of those, seeing a lot of layoffs. So the space is probably going to do some consolidation. And I hope that they realize once again that there's just such a small investment on this initial education piece, and a proactive, from a musculoskeletal standpoint, there's just such an upside for that. So I think when you talk about 3 to 5 years, you're going to see someone be on staff on each of those organizations. There's probably not going to be as many organizations, and there's probably not going to be a lot of those probably mid-tier kind of things. Might be some small, there'll be university for sure, and they'll have staff, whether it's ATC or whatever, supporting them. We do a lot for some of the universities around us. You're going to see medical staff on those. You're going to see that be an important part for player longevity, because that's how you get attached to a organization. Is you have the same faces there for more than just one split. You have them for a year or two, and get that kind of emotional connection to players. And in order to do that, you have to have players healthy. And that's, I think the space is slowly realizing that, which is exciting. But I think that's where the future of it is going to go. You're going to have medical staff on that team because you have to have that if you want to have a solid fan base.
Do you think the opposite will be true, where you'll have, little Drew clones all across the medical industry?
I think so. I think you're going to see more institutions. Once again, there's money in the space. And so you're going to see more institutions trying to get into that. But then it comes back to authenticity. Like, look, we've been doing this. I've been doing this for 5 years. I think the clinic's been doing it for 3 or 4 years. And there's other institutions that have tried to do that and have made some medical partnerships. And some of the content is just not good. And I don't want to bash anyone, but it's just not authentic, and it's not realistic, and it's not applicable to the players. Like it's gonna go one ear out the other. You're talking to them from up here when you could be at their level, talking to them, whether it's in their space or whether it's just YouTube how to play Rainbow Six, or YouTube how to play League of Legends. Get some lingo and drop that. And if you drop some lingo within that, they're going to be like, oh, their ears will perk up and they'll kind of realize. So I think, other institutions are going to be doing that. There's no question about that, because there's a huge need. There's money in the space, and there's content and exposure within the space too. So yeah.
Yes, since hosting this, and I don't know if Bilal and April have experienced the same thing, but I mean, my LinkedIn box, like I get esports coordinator, University of Texas, esports, person, and I mean from all over the place. And it's funny that you say authenticity, because it's like I look at them, because I'm very like, my LinkedIn is sanctive. Like I have CEOs, I have like big wigs on mine. I'm super proud of it. And I'm just like 2 shared friends like, I don't know you, man. You're just trying to like beef up your LinkedIn on the keyword esports. I know exactly what you're doing. So I have seen a huge increase, and I have Google alerts, and I pay attention to the number of hits. I've been doing this since quantum, wasn't cool, and AI wasn't cool. And like, I have esports and gaming and stuff and metaverse, and the number of the entries in my weekly roll-ups, I mean, have septupled. I mean, the number of things and people in this industry is just, that's how I know it's kind of like ripe, maybe for consolidation, like you said.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's cool. Bilal, April, I know we have to cut this meeting a bit, trim it, right? And so I just want to give you guys a couple extra opportunities to engage.
Thank you. I had one question. I'm really excited about the work you're doing, and of course, coming from the university space, it's always an uphill climb when you're battling for funding against doctors who are curing cancer and teaching the blind to see and all of this. How have you found your relationship with universities and getting esports programs able to afford you, basically? And how have you found, what are you doing on the front for the individual players that you could share, if there's anything you could share?
Yeah. So when I worked independently, I just kind of went out on my own time. And with the clinic, there's a partnership, and I don't know the exact details with a couple of the universities, but I don't want to speak out there, but I think it's basically on our free time. I especially do it on my free time. Most of the esports is associated with the sports health and ortho wing of the clinic, and I'm in wellness with chiro, massage therapy, acupuncture, kind of all those things. So it's pretty much on our own when we have time. So I have Tuesdays off. So Tuesdays I take a lot of meetings, or I'll go out to the Cats Legion lair and we'll go over some whatever topic they want us to cover for that week. So it's a lot on ours. We do have some funding that's been given to us by like donations from patients, and which has been really great. Our goal is to eventually create a service line so we can fund ourselves and we can have a lot of time to do more things, and just it be itself. And with the universities, it's kind of same thing. Like, they have those partnerships and we go out on our own terms. So for instance, for Cleveland State, who they have just been making leaps and bounds in their esports program. PJ out there is just awesome. Great dude. And runs it professionally. And we have really had some really good interaction with them, and we're basically going to be doing monthly lectures with them, covering different topics. And they have, I think, 40 to 60 kids out there. And so we're doing monthly lectures and talking with them. I don't believe at this time we're doing any real treatment on them, which I would obviously love to do. I do a lot with manual therapy, soft tissue work, kinesiotaping, and just a ton with therapeutic exercise and ergonomics. But we are basically going there monthly, and then our goal is to eventually, have a space with them. I think they're developing out a space eventually in a couple of years, and that's going to be kind of their hub for Cleveland State's like 2.0 refresh, and esports is going to be a really integral part of that, which is really cool. So eventually having a space with that and possibly doing some research with them down the road. But basically right now we're just trying to get funding through the clinic to create this and eventually have our own service line so we can do more of this stuff. But that's kind of what we do for them. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's where I've been trying to move more. Like we work with our health and wellness center. They do mental health workshops for our esports, multiple times a semester. And when we have incidents, I find it's easier to train a former coach and alumni who knows the game with what with the confidence on the medical side than it
Yeah.
is to try to go the other way and get people to realize that this is serious and this is important. And
Yeah. But I think you're gonna see in the next 5 to 10 years, you're gonna see doctors coming through the medical field that grew up gaming.
yes.
And I think know that and know the value of it. It's not just something that you do by yourself, in your basement. Everything's dark. You're just
Yeah.
ripping Mountain Dew and Doritos like that. I think that's the old adage and stereotype that everyone thinks about. And now it's literally cool. And I have patients all the time, and I'll have a patient that'll be, like in high school, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just on the computer a lot." And I was like, "What, do you game?" And they're like, yeah. And it's not like it's not like a stigma anymore. It's something like everybody games. And if you don't game at that age, people are like, "What are you doing?"
You're
So,
right.
which is really cool, because that'd have been awesome back in the day when I was growing up to hear that, So I think you're going to see medical providers that grew up in that space, grew up on, and like me, N64, and GameCube and all those things. And you're going to start seeing people come to that realization, because everyone, like, if you're in your 30s, everyone games. Like, all my buddies game. So, and granted, that they might be my buddies because they game, but that's everyone games now. And I think you're going to see medical providers be able to speak a little bit better to esports and have an understanding of what they go through with gaming, and relate a little bit better.
That's fantastic. Listening to you reminds me, and it's very silly because I'm a giant geek, but when Fat Thor had to could do anything he wanted, he picked gaming with Mountain Dew and Doritos.
Love that.
And
Yeah.
all his buddies around the TV.
Yeah.
No, you're good. You answered all the questions. I'm just interested in getting into this field myself one day. And so for somebody like myself and people who are watching who may be interested, I know that there isn't a linear path in the same sense that, I go to residency, get a job, blah, 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 blah. It's not structured, not in the world of esports. So, well, I guess what can people do to take those first steps to kind of get in there and start developing the field?
My thing was just one, it really helps that you're already into gaming. That's huge. That gives you a step up from everybody. And then research, like whatever you really like to do, whether it's, do you like musculoskeletal? Do you love nutrition? Do you want to look into mental health? There's just so many avenues that you can go within medicine, and what you want to specialize in, and then just start reading, just start doing research, start reading blogs, like my blog. Just research and do it and find what you really enjoy doing, because that'll shine through. Like I said before, I really love ergonomics, and it is the most boring thing ever, but I really do like it. And so whatever you like doing, start researching and doing that, and then just start throwing out content. That's the thing you have to do. Like, you eventually have to pull the trigger, and it's really scary to pull that thing, because then everyone gets to just backseat drive you and judge you, So, but I think that's what you want to do. You just got to start publishing it and getting your name out there and doing things. Maybe start, if you're really comfortable on LinkedIn, maybe start on LinkedIn and doing that stuff, and then eventually move into other platforms with that. But do what you love doing, and then pull the trigger on it, and just do it. And then wherever you're based, where are you based out of?
California.
California is like a hotbed for all esports. I'm in Cleveland, so it's like, tech in Cleveland, not a thing. But I think if you're in California, that's just a hotbed. And whether you want to start with orgs or, mid-tier orgs or small orgs or universities or high schools, like, everyone's doing it now. Every high school is doing it now. Every college is doing it now. And if they're not, they're just so far behind. So I think there's just so much opportunity within that, and especially that you're in California. There's a lot of great manufacturers, out there and developers and like a lot of the industries out there, I think that really helped you too.
Yeah,
Can you pitch your show for us? Give us your call.
Oh, my blog?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's for the wellness blog. It was FTW originally, and then just for the wellness for the win. And it's just for the wellness.com. And I try and post, I'm revamping a lot of old articles, so I have been pretty good about getting one out weekly. And so I think today was like desk essentials, and it was like laptop stands and rice bags and oh gosh. Yeah, there you go. Just a bunch of different things. I look like a 1970s yearbook picture there, but yeah. But yeah, so it's a lot with gaming, and then it's a lot with office workers and performance surrounding that. So yeah, desk essentials. I think I did one. Next one was on like mouse, and then it was mouse breakdown, keyboard, office chair breakdown, and kind of revamping a lot of those older articles and reshaping them. And just, as you mature as a content creator, you look at your old stuff and you're like, wow, that was just yikes, that was rough. So redoing a lot of my writing and just like digestibility. And so that's kind of the blog that I do. I post a ton on LinkedIn. Well, not a ton. I probably post weekly on LinkedIn and Twitter. I do a bunch. I try and do some YouTube work as well. But yeah, that's kind of what I really enjoy doing. And then I do a lot of stuff internally for the clinic as well. So
have you addressed cold hands?
Like Raynaud's? Is it Raynaud's that you have?
I have Raynaud's, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't done much within that space. I know, rice bags are great for that, and just warming up in general. Prior, like having a little like a stress ball or something like that will help with gaming, because my hands, I don't have that issue, but even when I'm gaming, they get a little cold. And so using those things are great. And then looking at, massage is awesome for that too. Like they can do some lymphatic drainage. They can do some really great things in the massage realm for that. So
now you're talking my languages. I like this. My terminology, lymphatic flushing, all that stuff. Deep tissue, dry needle. I can dry needle. I can scrape. I can cup, all kinds of stuff. So
yeah.
I wish I could get a budget for one of you guys on our.
So I want to just make sure people understand how awesome he is, first off. And he's not paying me for this yet, but there might be a bill in the mail. So it is incredibly rare to find medical professionals that even know anything about nutrition. I actually went through the entire Harvard medical course at one time. I didn't take it, but I read through the curriculum. I read what books that they had, and there was almost nothing on nutrition. There was almost nothing on proactive health, right? Yeah. And so the interest, even mental health was significantly lacking in the coursework. So to find someone who not only is specializing from a medical perspective in ergonomics and nutrition and their game, so they know about the cognitive aspects and even drop nootropics, which that's like having medical folks who know about that is extremely rare. And so not only are you practicing like something that is just so far beyond what is traditional right now and what's expected, but you're creating the playbook for Bilal and the rest of the gamers and just progressives who are coming behind you. And I know you don't take that role lightly. And I just want to thank you for doing that, because folks like me, I wish I had someone like you in the doctor's office with me 10 years ago when I had my traumatic brain injury, right? It was just like, hey, Ken, we're going to give you some pills, melatonin, let's get you to sleep. And nothing works. And so I want to make sure that everyone who's tuning in, this is super rare, super awesome stuff that he's doing. And I commend you. And I think it's incredible. And I'm trying to get people like you and Bilal into the government space because we really, really need it. Because the government runs all the standards for everything and funding. The amount of money that we give out for stuff like this is absolutely tremendous. And if we don't have people like you in the government governing the grants, they'd never get materialized in the first place, you know? So I think it's pretty awesome what you're doing, man.
Well, I appreciate that. Was legit might be the nicest thing anyone ever said about me. So I really appreciate that, honestly. That was nice.
Write this bill.
But yeah, I think, you know, I really try and come at it like when I'm with my patients is really come at it. Okay, yeah, you have a neck strain. Well, okay. You know, you can look at it from a typical chiro where it's just like, we're going to adjust it and we'll see you later. I'll see you in 2 days. And I look at it as like, that's not happening. Like we're going to look at soft tissue. What do you do all day? Are you at a computer? In my case at the clinic, when I see a lot of caregivers, it's like, you know, for instance, like I have a phlebotomist. Well, let get in that position. Let's see. Okay. Well, that's the reason why you have low back. So let's engage the glutes. Let's stiffen the spine. Let's do some abdominal bracing work. Now we're going to take a look at why your right shoulder is always irritated, why you always have a, you know, right-sided temporal headache. Well, why is that? Well, because I use my right hand for everything, and that scapula and shoulder blade is out, and so we have tightness in that trap. And so there's just so many. You have to look at what they do all day, because otherwise it's going to keep coming back. And so that's kind of what I try and wrap my head around, is like, what are they doing throughout the day that's causing that, and not just, well, it's here, but why is it here? And so I think that's really important. And I think when you look at it from an ergonomic and equipment standpoint, I think there's going to be, well, we're in talks with a few companies trying to do some research with the clinic and esports and looking at why people should even care about an ergonomic chair. Why is it that important? Does it better your gameplay? What does it do? And that's going to, on our roadmap for hopefully the end of this year, maybe third or fourth quarter, is start to do some of that research. That's going to be vital, and the reasons why typical gaming chairs, you know, suck, and why, you know, there needs to be a trend in the space where there's going to be better equipment. Yeah, not a fan of that, but that's for another day. But I love it if it wasn't a chair and you were doing spinal mobility exercises. Awesome. Sitting on it, you just slowly get into that C shape, and then your back starts getting burning tight. And you're like, man, I'm really working my core. It's like, no. So yeah. So I'm really excited about what we have planned and how we're going, especially at the clinic, just really trying to trailblaze a lot of this stuff, and do it right. I think that's the big thing, and not just do it as a money grab, because right now it's not. So yeah.
So last question, do you take TRICARE over there? Is that
TRICARE?
Okay, so no, that's
I don't know.
The military's healthcare service.
Well, you know, we might, but what's really nice about the clinic is we have people that do all the billing and financial stuff. So when I see someone on the schedule, we'll see, like, maybe if it's like it'll see like the insurance provider, and that's pretty much it. I don't think I've treated some military people over there, but I don't know if it said TRICARE, it would just say it would just say some other MMO or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, probably VA, a veteran versus.
But I don't have to do any of that stuff, which is really nice, because finance and insurance verification is just not super fun. Yeah.
Well, if I can get a referral to him, I will live stream it, so he can put me on my yoga ball chair and all kinds of other things. So, hey man, I think you're an incredible human being. Like I said, like low density, high value, you're incredible. I'm going to throw a couple folks your way to see if you can collaborate, maybe even a couple folks who are in the grant business as well that might see the future a little bit differently like we do. And I totally value your time, and I really, really appreciate it so much, as well as everybody else. And I'll leave it up to the rest, and I'm out. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that when you were talking about how that neck sprain just keeps coming back with everything else that they're doing, you're hitting on some heavy hitting osteopathic principles, the idea of the mind, body, spirit as a whole. Maybe you've heard about this from your colleagues, but that's right up my alley. This is exactly how they're teaching us at school. When we're treating our fellow students, we're asking, okay, what is it that you're doing? Why do you have this problem? And we treat accordingly. And I think that really is the future of healthcare. So it's really, really nice to hear that you're paving the path to be able to make that a standard within esports. And then hopefully, maybe I'm dreaming too much, but I think esports and the kinds of healthcare practitioners that we can get into, really authentic kinds, can really set the gold standard for healthcare in other fields outside of esports as well.
And I think one of the things that I really appreciate hearing you say, and I think if we replay this, you said it about 5 times, I am a gamer. I am a gamer. And I love that identity. We talked about that on the show in the past. No, you know, that's where authenticity comes from, knowing who you are, knowing what you care about. And that reads so soundly, that comes through so clearly with you, that I think, you know, everything that you're saying would resonate solidly with my gamers at my school. And I'm going to figure out how to get budget to bring you to Chicago.
Well, honestly, you know, if you have questions, obviously take a look at the blog, and if you still have questions, always feel free to email me or shoot me a LinkedIn message. Don't hesitate on that. That's, you know, kind of what I do all day. And Bilal, same thing. Like, if you have questions, always hit me up. Whether it's via email or on LinkedIn, don't hesitate on that, because I mean, that, you know, I think, what is the verbiage? All rising tides raise all ships. Like that's what's going to be.
A rising tide raises all boats.
Yeah, I don't know. I messed that. I fumbled that one. Yeah. Anyways, you picked up what I was putting down. That was the important part. Yeah. So I think, you know, if you try and keep all your stuff to yourself, you're not helping anyone. And you're actually, you know, if you're not publishing or anything like that, then you're not getting critique on that. And one of the things that we have coming out with the clinic is a huge piece of content in volume, an aspect of volume and it's going to be free, and it's going to be to every single person that wants to download that. And that's what our goal is to just better the space.
Awesome. And with that, we thank everyone for their time and hope you get as much value out of this. Play it again, because there's a lot of nuggets in here that we dropped. So thanks so much for everyone tuning in, and Warrior Gamer Headquarters podcast out. Start. All right, cool. All right. So, Drew, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy life and all of your much higher priorities to come join us on the Warrior Gamer podcast.
No, yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm not going to lie, I was playing Hogwarts earlier, so.